Have you ever wondered, behind BTS's global dominance and world-breaking records, which member truly has the most natural comedic talent? Not because of a script or the cameras rolling, but based on the honest opinion of American talk show icon Jimmy Fallon. The answer is completely unexpected, and these are the facts. Number 7. The unpredictable variety ace, Jimin. When we analyze the comedic landscape of BTS through the lens of late-night American television, specifically The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, the dynamics of humor shift from standard South Korean variety show tropes to fast-paced, cross-cultural situational comedy. Kim Suk-jin, the eldest member of the group, has consistently established a unique comedic identity that Jimmy Fallon himself has highlighted across multiple appearances, spanning from their initial 2018 debut on the show to the historic 2020 BTS week. Jin's humor does not rely on complex linguistic puns that might get lost in translation. Instead, it is rooted in absolute confidence, subverting the traditional, highly polished idol image and leveraging intentional awkwardness to create instant viral moments. During their first interview on The Tonight Show in September 2018, while other members carefully navigated the unfamiliar territory of American late-night television with measured, polite responses, Jimin immediately broke the ice by locking eyes with the camera, blowing his trademark hand kiss, and boldly declaring himself worldwide handsome. This structural subversion of humility, a trait deeply ingrained in Korean culture, delivered with absolute, deadpan serious intent, immediately resonated with Fallon. The late-night host, a seasoned veteran of sketch comedy and improvisational humor from his days on Saturday Night Live, recognized the comedic value of Jin's self-assured persona. Fallon's reaction was instantaneous, characterized by explosive laughter and physical comedy, falling out of his chair to match Jin's high-energy theatricality. This specific interaction laid the groundwork for how Western media approached BTS, proving that comedy could transcend linguistic barriers through sheer charisma and spatial awareness. Factually, Jin's comedic timing relies heavily on the psychological concept of benign violation. He violates the expectation of the reserved, untouchable pop star by acting absurdly confident, yet it remains completely harmless and endearing. This was further demonstrated during the 2020 BTS week, an unprecedented 5-night broadcast event on NBC. In the Subways of New York segment and the subsequent interviews on the empty Tonight Show stage, Jimin consistently utilized high-pitched vocal inflections, deliberate overreactions, and direct, unfiltered English responses to catch both Fallon and his fellow members off guard. When asked about his global popularity, Jimin did not defer to a scripted, safe answer. He leaned directly into the absurdity of the situation, challenging the host with a playful, defensive tone that is characteristic of his variety show appearances like Run BTS. Jimmy Fallon's appreciation for Jin's humor stems from this predictability of unpredictability. Fallon has noted in behind-the-scenes clips and subsequent monologues how Jimin drives the energy of the group interviews by being completely unapologetic about his comedic bits, whether it is staring down a lens or demanding validation for his jokes. This specific brand of humor bridges the gap between Eastern and Western entertainment formats, making Jimin an invaluable asset in live, unscripted international television environments. His ability to turn a standard promotional interview into a chaotic, highly engaging comedic bit ensures that the atmosphere never becomes dry or overly formal, establishing a benchmark for how global music icons can utilize authentic, self-deprecating humor to connect with millions of viewers worldwide. While Jimin masterfully commands the room with explosive, unscripted confidence, the next member on Fallon's list completely shifts the comedic paradigm using nothing but pure, unfiltered facial expressions. Number 6. The master of nonverbal wit, Jimin. If Jin's comedic style is an explosive burst of theatrical confidence, Park Jimin operates on an entirely different frequency, one that relies almost exclusively on situational awareness, physical reactions, and an instant magnetic chemistry with Jimmy Fallon himself. From their very first interaction in 2018, a unique and highly specific comedic narrative was born, driven by the phonetic similarity of their names, which Fallon and Jimin immediately weaponized for global entertainment value. During the 2018 Tonight Show debut, Jimin did not need complex English sentences to steal the comedic spotlight. Instead, he wore a custom-made shimmy headband, his BT21 character, and physically threw himself into Fallon's arms within seconds of entering the studio stage. This spontaneous act of physical comedy instantly shattered the formal boundary between host and international guest, establishing a recurring gag that defined BTS's appearances for years to come. Fallon's comedic background is deeply rooted in physical sketch comedy, and he recognized in Jimin a perfect comedic foil, someone who could react to a joke in real time using subtle shifts in posture, dramatic hiding behind his hands, or intentional collapses onto the floor in mock embarrassment. This non-verbal brilliant timing was put on full display during the iconic 2020 BTS week on NBC, particularly during the Grand Central Terminal performance and the tournament-style games like the Will It Fit challenge. While other members focused on the mechanics of the games, Jimin focused on the camera and Fallon, turning simple tasks into dramatic, silent movie-esque comedic segments. When a joke or a game didn't go as planned, Jimin's immediate instinct was to lock eyes with Jimmy, deliver a look of utter, comedic despair, or playfully walk off the set, driving Fallon into fits of unscripted laughter. This chemistry extended far beyond the walls of Studio 6B. When Jimin released his solo debut album Face in March 2023, he returned to The Tonight Show as a solo guest, reinforcing this comedic bond. In that specific interview, the humor matured into a brilliant display of deadpan delivery and playful subversion. When Fallon asked about his nicknames, including Machi, Jimin looked directly at the camera with a perfectly straight face and replied, "So, today, just call me Jimin," completely cutting through the expected cute idol trope with sharp, mature wit. Fallon's open admiration for Jimin's comedic sensibilities lies in this exact ability to read the room. Jimin understands that in American late-night television, brevity and sharp physical reactions often generate bigger laughs than long, translated explanations. He uses his entire body as a comedic tool, whether he is falling out of his chair from laughing too hard at Fallon's monologues or executing a perfectly timed, dramatic eye roll that instantly becomes a viral internet meme. This effortless, reactive humor creates an atmosphere of pure warmth and accessibility, proving that true comedic genius doesn't require a shared native language when you possess an innate mastery of human expression and timing. Yet, as brilliant as Jimin is at commanding the screen through silent charisma and shared inside jokes, the next member operates with a completely different, fiercely sharp linguistic intellect that turns every single interview into a masterclass of subtle, highbrow humor. Number 5. The King of Deadpan Subversion, RM. While other members of BTS dominate the comedic space through explosive physical reactions or theatrical declarations, Kim Namjoon commands the screen with a sharp, highly intellectual brand of humor that relies on deadpan delivery, linguistic subversion, and the sheer irony of his role as the group's serious leader. As the primary English speaker navigating the fast-paced world of American late-night television, RM bears the immense responsibility of translating not just words, but cultural nuances in real time on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. However, instead of letting this duty restrict him to a stiff, purely diplomatic role, RM has masterfully turned his position into a source of brilliant, dry comedic timing that Jimmy Fallon consistently feeds into during their interviews. The foundation of RM's humor on the show is built on the classic straight man comedy trope, where he acts as the grounded, sensible anchor surrounded by the deliberate, chaotic energy of his bandmates. Fallon, a seasoned improviser, immediately recognized the comedic potential of pushing RM out of this comfort zone. During their historic 2020 BTS week residence on NBC, specifically during the group interview segments, RM's comedic genius shone through his subtle facial expressions. A slow blink, a heavy sigh, or a direct, exhausted look into the camera whenever the group's antics reached a fever pitch. This non-verbal commentary on his own group's chaos creates an instant, relatable connection with the audience, turning RM into the ultimate audience surrogate. Furthermore, RM's linguistic agility allows him to deploy sharp, spontaneous witty remarks that catch Fallon completely off guard. A definitive example of this occurred during their 2021 return to the show to promote Butter, when Fallon brought up the group's early days and their sleeping arrangements. Instead of delivering a sanitized, PR-friendly answer about teamwork and bonding, RM looked straight at Fallon and dryly detailed the intense, unfiltered reality of 7 energetic teenage boys sharing a single, cramped room, describing the chaotic symphony of snoring and mismatched habits with a perfectly straight face. The humor lands precisely because RM delivers these raw, grounded truths with a sophisticated, calm demeanor, creating a hilarious contrast that drives Fallon into genuine, unscripted laughter. Fallon has openly praised RM's ability to navigate these high-pressure television environments, noting that the leader's sharp intellect allows him to play along with American late-night humor effortlessly, matching Fallon's energy with subtle sarcasms and playful jabs that are rarely seen from traditional K-pop idols. RM understands that comedy is a game of tension and release. By maintaining a poised, intellectual exterior, he elevates the impact of his occasional, perfectly timed slides into pure absurdity, whether he is executing a goofy, unexpected dance move during a game segment or making a self-deprecating joke about his own clumsy nature. This intellectual wit adds a unique layer of sophistication to BTS's global media presence, proving that humor can be incredibly sharp, culturally aware, and deeply impactful without ever needing to raise its voice. But while RM utilizes dry intellect and structural control to anchor the comedy, the next member on Fallon's list completely dismantles all rules of conventional television, using pure, unfiltered 4D unpredictability to create pure late-night gold. Number 4. The unfiltered 4D maverick. V. Kim Tae-hyung operates on a completely distinct comedic plane that entirely bypasses the conventional structures of late-night television, relying instead on raw authenticity, unpredictable spatial awareness, and a total disregard for the invisible wall between the performer and the camera. On The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, V has consistently established himself as a certified scene stealer, possessing a rare, innate ability to turn a standard promotional interview into a masterclass in avant-garde situational comedy. While other members might prepare structured answers or lean into familiar variety tropes, V treats Studio 6B as his personal playground, utilizing a unique brand of humor that Western media frequently categorizes as 4D, a term reserved for individuals with eccentric, deeply original, and highly unpredictable thought processes. Jimmy Fallon, whose entire career is built on the art of tracking and reacting to guest energy, has often found himself completely captivated by V's spontaneous actions, which occur entirely outside the boundaries of any written script. During the 2020 BTS Week residency, V's comedic timing was prominently displayed not through long monologues, but through his masterful control of micro-expressions, deliberate deadpan pauses, and a brilliant use of props. A definitive, factually recorded moment of this occurred during the group's interview segments where V, dressed in a sharp retro suit, would completely disarm Fallon by delivering answers with an intense, cinematic seriousness that contrasted hilariously with the lighthearted nature of the questions. When asked about his global influence or musical inspirations, V's choice of vocabulary, paired with his deep, resonant vocal delivery and deliberate, slow-motion hand gestures, left Fallon in a state of absolute, ecstatic amusement. V understands the inherent comedy of stillness in a fast-paced environment. While the energy around him remains loud and kinetic, he will suddenly freeze, deliver a piercing, multi-layered look directly into the lens of the primary camera, or execute a perfectly timed, completely unexpected physical gesture, such as adjusting his jacket with exaggerated royal poise, that instantly shifts the focus of the entire room onto him. This exact dynamic was elevated to new heights during their 2021 appearance, where V's confidence in navigating the American late-night format allowed him to play directly with Fallon's own comedic timing, matching the veteran host's energy with sharp, effortless charisma that felt entirely unscripted. Fallon has explicitly highlighted V's magnetic screen presence in various behind-the-scenes segments, noting how V's unpredictable nature keeps the entire production crew on their toes, as no one ever truly knows where his eyes or his focus will land next. This complete lack of pretense and willingness to look completely absurd, while maintaining the visual aura of a high-fashion model, creates a fascinating comedic tension that is unique to V. He does not try to be funny in the traditional sense. Rather, his entire existence on screen is an exercise in authentic, unfiltered expression that naturally results in pure, high-engagement comedic gold, proving that the most powerful humor on global television is that which cannot be rehearsed. Yet, as brilliant as V is at controlling the atmosphere through his eccentric cinematic stillness, the next member on the list commands the stage with a hyper-kinetic, boundary-breaking physical energy that completely redefines the concept of late-night entertainment. Number 3, the hyper-kinetic human vitamin, J-Hope. If V's comedy is rooted in cinematic stillness, Jungkook completely shatters the late-night format with a relentless, high-octane physical energy that transforms The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon into a live-wire variety spectacle. J-Hope approaches international television not merely as an interviewee, but as a master performer who understands that physical expression, sound effects, and uninhibited body language are universal languages that require zero translation. Jimmy Fallon, a host renowned for his own high energy, physically expressive comedic style, found a perfect kindred spirit in J-Hope from their very first interaction in 2018. When J-Hope introduces himself as, "I'm your hope, you're my hope, I'm J-Hope," it is not just a catchphrase. It is a full-body comedic performance involving wide-eyed expressions, dramatic hand gestures, and an immediate leap into high-intensity crowd engagement that instantly forces Fallon to match his frequency. This explosive dynamic reached historical heights when J-Hope returned to The Tonight Show as a solo guest in early 2023 to promote his documentary J-Hope Indiana the Box. In this specific, factually documented appearance, J-Hope's growth into a confident global entertainer was on full display as he effortlessly ran the comedic narrative of the show. He did not let linguistic barriers slow down the comedic pacing. Instead, he used a brilliant mix of sharp, punchy English phrases, vocal sound effects, like his trademark BBA 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 noises, and spontaneous dance breaks that had Fallon jumping out of his seat. During the interview, when discussing his headlining performance at Lollapalooza, J-Hope didn't just give a standard, factual recount. He acted out his pre-show anxiety and post-show relief with theatrical physical comedy, turning his real-life pressure into an incredibly engaging, humorous story. Fallon's deep professional appreciation for J-Hope's comedy stems from this absolute lack of inhibition. J-Hope is completely willing to sacrifice the traditional, pristine idol image to secure a genuine laugh, whether he is screaming in mock terror during a late-night game segment or executing a perfectly timed, exaggerated reaction to one of Fallon's jokes. His comedic timing is deeply connected to his background as a dancer, giving him a flawless sense of rhythm and spatial awareness that allows him to know exactly when to jump into a frame, when to pull a dramatic face at the camera, and how to use his entire physical presence to elevate the mood of a massive television studio. This boundless, infectious enthusiasm serves as the ultimate engine for BTS's media appearances, ensuring that the energy level never drops and providing Fallon with a constant stream of high-value, unscripted moments that consistently go viral across global digital platforms. But while J-Hope dominates the studio by projecting an unstoppable wave of kinetic joy outward to the audience, the next member on Fallon's list creates comedic masterpieces through the exact opposite approach, using sharp, silent observation and a fiercely protective, effortlessly cool demeanor. Number 2, the silent strategic sniper, Suga. While J-Hope fills every corner of Studio 6B with explosive kinetic energy, Min Yoon-gi operates with a fiercely distinct, low-frequency comedic style rooted in sharp observation, minimalist effort, and a brilliant deadpan stoicism that Jimmy Fallon has consistently highlighted as late-night gold. Suga's humor on The Tonight Show thrives on a deliberate, hilarious contrast. While the entire studio, including Fallon and his fellow bandmates, reaches a fever pitch of high-energy excitement, Suga will remain completely still, delivering a single razor-sharp look or a blunt, unfiltered comment that instantly steals the scene. This specific Sundra comedic persona, cool and detached on the outside, yet deeply witty and sharp on the inside, is perfectly calibrated for Western late-night television, which has a long, storied history of celebrating the deadpan straight man trope. A definitive, factually recorded demonstration of this dynamic occurred during the 2020 BTS Week residency on NBC, particularly during the chaotic game segments like the Will It Fit tournament. While other members strategically planned their moves or cheered loudly, Suga approached the challenges with a look of utter, comedic indifference, executing his turns with a mechanical precision that drove Fallon into fits of genuine laughter. Fallon, an expert at reading guest dynamics, quickly realized that Suga's silence wasn't a lack of engagement, but rather a deliberate comedic choice. He learned to turn the cameras onto Suga precisely at the moment of peak chaos, knowing that Yoon Ji-ai's calm, slightly judgmental expression would provide the ultimate comedic punchline. This unique bond reached its absolute peak in May 2023, when Suga made history as a solo guest on The Tonight Show to promote his album D-Day under his alias August D. Free from the group dynamic, Suga's individual comedic timing shone brilliantly. When Fallon brought out a vintage photo of a young Suga holding a traditional Korean instrument, Suga didn't offer a standard, nostalgic explanation. Instead, he looked at the photo, looked back at Fallon, and dryly dismantled the serious atmosphere with a sharp, self-deprecating remark about his appearance. Throughout that entire solo interview, Suga masterfully controlled the pacing of the conversation, using brief pauses, subtle smirks, and direct, honest answers that completely bypassed standard PR scripts. Fallon's open admiration for Suga's wit lies in this exact ability to command a room without raising his voice. Suga understands that in comedy, less is often significantly more. By maintaining his fiercely protective, effortlessly cool demeanor, he ensures that whenever he does choose to break character, whether it is through a sudden, brilliant gummy smile or a playful, sarcastic jab at Fallon's hosting skills, the comedic payoff is massive, cementing his reputation as a master of low-key, high-impact television entertainment. While Suga's dry, calculated silence creates an incredible comedic anchor for the group, there is one final member whose humor is so completely natural, universally disarming, and intensely chaotic that he claims the absolute top spot on Fallon's list. Number 1. The chaotic golden instinct, Jungkook. At the absolute pinnacle of Jimmy Fallon's comedic appreciation stands Jungkook, a performer whose humor is entirely unscripted, completely instinctive, and driven by a fearless, chaotic innocence that transforms any high-profile television set into a playground of pure, unfiltered comedy. Jungkook does not rely on calculated wit, dry sarcasm, or structured variety show formulas. Instead, his comedic genius stems from his total immersion in the present moment, reacting to his environment with a raw, physical honesty that leaves late-night hosts completely disarmed. On The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, this specific dynamic has created some of the most factually significant viral television moments in modern pop culture. Fallon, a seasoned comedian who spent years adapting to strict script timings, has always shown a profound fascination with Jungkook's ability to completely ignore the invisible constraints of a live television broadcast to pull off a brilliant piece of improvisational humor. During the group's landmark appearances, while older members managed the linguistic and diplomatic weight of the interviews, Jungkook would occupy himself by turning standard background actions into high-value physical gags. Whether he was mirroring Fallon's hyperactive hand gestures with absolute, flawless precision, hiding behind props to scare his bandmates, or breaking out into completely unprompted, high-energy dance moves during serious discussions, Jungkook proved that pure charisma requires zero translation to dominate Western media. This instinctive comedic brilliance reached its absolute zenith in November 2023, when Jungkook returned to The Tonight Show as a solo guest to promote his record-breaking album Golden. In this historic solo interview, the sheer, magnetic comedic chemistry between Fallon and Jungkook took center stage, completely free from the safety net of a group dynamic. Jungkook masterfully navigated the entire segment by leaning directly into his charming, slightly chaotic persona, turning potential language barriers into brilliant comedic beats. When Fallon read out the staggering global streaming statistics for his hit single, 7, Jungkook didn't just offer a standard, polite expression of gratitude. He looked directly into the camera, let out a dramatic, breathless gasp, and collapsed slightly back into his chair with a face of utter, exaggerated shock that sent Fallon and the studio audience into absolute hysterics. Throughout the night, Jungkook constantly subverted expectations, matching Fallon's high-energy hosting style with spontaneous, playful challenges, including a hilariously intense chicken nugget taste test segment where his raw, unfiltered facial expressions of approval and intense culinary concentration became instant global memes. Fallon has consistently praised Jungkook's presence, noting that the youngest member possesses a rare, old-school comedic timing reminiscent of classic silent screen entertainers, someone who can command millions of viewers through the sheer force of an authentic reaction, a sudden burst of childlike competitiveness, or a perfectly timed, mischievous smirk. Jungkook's humor is fundamentally powerful because it is entirely devoid of pretense. He does not try to be a comedian, yet his absolute willingness to be fully vulnerable, wildly energetic, and beautifully unpredictable on global television makes him, in the eyes of late night's biggest host, the ultimate champion of natural comedy.